die has been cast. All that remains is to see this through.
Hey gang, Koei 50 here, and this needs to be said, but I am a Three Kingdoms fanatic. I've read the book, sunk hundreds of hours into Total War Three Kingdoms and Romance of the Three Kingdoms. I've bought the magic cards, and there is even a statue of Guan Yu in my home. Despite all of this, I hated Dynasty Warriors 9. From the poorly optimized gameplay, to the butchered and reduced movesets, to the open world that acted like one giant loading screen, to the terrible dub. This has gone down in history as the absolute worst birthday present I have ever received. Now, I don't think Koei Tecmo knew this when they sent me a copy of Dynasty Warriors Origins for review, and if they had, well, they might have been worried or maybe not even sent it to me at all. But honestly, they had nothing to worry about with what they have provided with this game. Dynasty Warriors Origins puts you in the role of a nameless warrior called Ziluan, who works through the shadows to bring peace to the land. With the Three Kingdoms story being so well established and vast, this was the best way they could introduce a player character who likely did not exist in history, a strong departure from playing as any of the many named officers in previous Dynasty Warriors titles. You will get to control them as allies on some missions, as well as team up with them for attacks, but for the most part, you are Ziluan, and you will explore his admittedly fairly cliche amnesiac story. As far as the rest of the story goes, if you've played any previous Dynasty Warriors title, you know the drill. If not, well, you play through a saga of fighting rival warlords in the Three Kingdoms era of Chinese history. This is an area that has been and likely will continually be explored, because it's just so fascinating. Between this title and 2023's Wo Long Fallen Dynasty, I think we can expect even more games in this era in the future, retelling the story in many different contexts. I will admit that Dynasty Warriors Origins does take some liberties with the retelling of this story, Diao Chan being a primary example and something I am still getting used to from her previous Dynasty Warriors portrayals. But this needs to be done to keep everything fresh, and Origins does an admirable job doing just that, even if in terms of characters, Ziluan is a little bit too much of a blank slate at times. He is essentially the Gordon Freeman or the Link of ancient China. The gameplay has always been the draw and the meat of any Dynasty Warriors title. Having the ability to hop to a stage and completely mow down hordes of enemies is very cathartic after having a bad day at work. People who have disliked the series have criticized this, marking it as phrases such as brain dead or too easy. With the popularity of Warriors games continuing to have a hold on gamers with the likes of the critically acclaimed Hyrule Warriors, Persona 5 Strikers, One Piece Pirate Warriors, basically so many Warriors titles out there, the games are still going strong. And personally, I have never believed this to be true. But any of the complaints the naysayers had can thoroughly be put to rest with the gameplay improvements in Origins. The core is still there. Mow down hordes of enemies, capture objectives, and perform well in battle, and it will allow your allies to do better with increased morale, and they won't need your timely intervention. But officer battles have gone from a minor nuisance to a potential fight for your life with the new mechanics. Dodging and parrying are incredibly important in this game. Not only does it do the standard prevention of damage and keep you from being destroyed, but it also charges your bravery, the resource you use to unleash powerful weapon skills. It also just feels really good to get a perfectly timed parry or evade off. You just feel powerful. Combat is both fluid and fun, with plenty of ways to go about your objective. Now, I will say the camera can be a little wild at times, which has thrown me off and caused me to make mistakes, and with how I play, I do click L3 a little too much and will accidentally summon my horse in a pivotal moment. But by the time I clear the battlefield and set up a massive set-piece charge into a gigantic opposing army to finish the stage, all is forgiven. You will fight these gigantic battles with 10 different weapon types, and yes, it's a far cry from the overwhelming 88 playable characters with differing movesets in my beloved Dynasty Warriors 8 Extreme Legends. But the movesets are greatly expanded. There is also a plethora of weapon locked and general weapon skills that will allow for an incredibly customized weapon style you can tailor to truly make your own. Experimentation and swapping of weapons is not only a good idea, but necessary for progress, as your character progression is partially based on mastering every single weapon in the game. Once you do that though, feel free to pick whatever works best for you. Having a varied moveset by mastering these weapons and completing specific challenges with them is also required to grow your friendship with the game's many officers. The scenes you get are not only enjoyable, bite-sized slice-of-life moments with legendary historical figures, but increasing your rapport with these officers and completing all those challenges will grant you more points for your skill tree, your other point of progression. So there is a legitimate gameplay reason for you to do this to try to make stages easier, and grant you more ways to conquer those stages. All of this progression is not just tied to only doing story battles either. There are plenty of random skirmishes and additional missions that will pop up on the world map, which you can repeat if you get stuck and need to increase your power. When I first saw one of these skirmishes pop up, I was afraid it would be incredibly annoying to keep going into these, fighting them, but the PS5's SSD loaded these stages so fast that I now actively seek them out and try to complete all of them at least once. It was a pleasant surprise. Navigating the map is a breeze as well, with plenty of fast travel points, and those previously mentioned impressive load times will allow you to get where you need to go without wasting your time on needless fluff. A complete 180 from Dynasty Warriors 9. Music tracks in this game have also retained much of what I love about Dynasty Warriors. Now, I'm no musicologist, but if someone more practiced than me can tell me why it just feels so good to have a heavy rock riff blazing as I charge through the battlefield, I would like to know. All I can say in music layman's terms is it gets me hype. I could not be more pleased with the time I spent with Dynasty Warriors Origins. This whole title feels like a revival of the franchise, a step in the right direction. As the game opened up and I got to explore more of its world, I fell in love again with the story of the Three Kingdoms, the characters, and the unhinged action gameplay of the series. I was brought back to a time, booting up my PS2, first copy of Dynasty Warriors 3 in hand, and just having a realization that games can do this. If you're a fan of action games, the Three Kingdoms period, or both, you owe it to yourself to pick up Dynasty Warriors Origins. Now, if you'll excuse me to quote a cheesy Dynasty Warriors ad from my youth, I'm gonna hop back in on Ultimate Difficulty, live kingly, and die nasty.